If you were raised around narcissistic family systems, especially if there was covert manipulation, then it's probably fair to say that your parents, if that's how they were, whether both were narcissists or one was a narcissist, a covert narcissist, and one was codependent, it's probably fair to say that their parents had a similar dynamic and their parents had a similar dynamic, and back down the generations it went, right? The reality is that covert narcissism is generational. And when we find out about that, right, obviously the first thing we want to do is put an end to it, put an end to that generational family system. So today I want to talk about some things that are needed. If that's your case, if that's what you want to do, what's involved with doing that? Because guess what? It's not enough. It's not enough to leave a malignant narcissistic relationship, whether it's with a parent, a sibling, or a significant other. That doesn't mean that you will not have covert narcissism in your life anymore. Okay, there are things that we have to do inside to make sure that we can end that destructive family system. So I put this video together and I was thinking of 5 things that I found to be really important to learn and strengthen inside of yourself so that you don't have narcissistic relationships in your life. Because guess what? If you don't learn these 5 things, even if you don't have another person that's really high on the scale of NPD, you still run the risk of having unhealthy relationships. Okay, so that being said, let's dive into these 5 things. For those that don't know me, my name is Michele. I'm a life and relationship coach. I'm the founder of the Thriver School of Transformation, which is an interactive monthly membership where we meet live on Zoom every week and we talk about what I talk about on my channel, and we do the inner work together. So if that's something you might be interested in, just be aware that the doors only open the first 5 days of the month. So I'll leave the link here. If it doesn't work, make sure you check it out during those first 5 days. Okay, so the first thing that anyone that wants to stop, like completely put an end to relationships with narcissists, what they have to learn to do is to reconnect with self. Narcissistic abuse is all about stifling self, ignoring self, remolding self to be what the other person needs. And when you do that for a long time, that can become second nature. You become a chameleon, right? I remember being in my early 20s and being proud of the fact that I was a chameleon. I was like, I could fit in with anybody. I knew how to do this. Da, 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 da. Well, that really wasn't such a great thing to be proud of. Okay, because what it really meant was I was showing people pieces of me. I wasn't lying, but I was showing them pieces of me that they understood while keeping other pieces out. So no one was ever really seeing the real me or the whole me. And as a result of doing that, I found myself with people that were high on the scale of NPD because they love people that shapeshift. Okay, so the first thing that's important to learn how to do is reconnect with self. And I say that, and it can sound so easy, but it's a real challenge because narcissistic abuse teaches you, conditions you to view being yourself as something dangerous. Okay, so if when you were yourself with a narcissist, if you were punished for it, then now your nervous system views that as a danger. So you might realize that you want to be yourself and all the stuff goes on inside that makes it hard for you to actually put it into practice. Okay, but it is something that's needed. The second thing that's important to learn is how to validate yourself and how to validate yourself in a way that it feels good, in a way that it actually empowers you. Okay, so again, this is something that it sounds so simple, but when you've been taught and trained that you're not allowed to hold on to how you see yourself unless somebody else kind of puts their stamp of approval on it, then you don't know how to do that. And when you try, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel the same when you're validating yourself as when you're getting that external validation. So some signs that you need to strengthen this ability to validate yourself would be if you want to make a decision, do you tend to feel the need to ask everybody over and over until you find somebody that agrees with you, and then you're able to feel like you can trust your decision? Okay. Or if you feel a certain way about yourself and you're feeling good and somebody says something to you, are you unable to hold on to your view of you when somebody else is expressing a different one? Do you over-explain to people as if you need to over-explain so that they see your point of view and then everything's okay? Okay, those are some signs. But in order to end narcissistic family systems, you have to be able to resource from within. Because narcissistic abuse, both the narcissist and their victims, neither one does that. The narcissist needs the narcissistic supply from the other person, so they can't resource from within. And the other person, the victim, needs the narcissist's approval to feel as if they're worthy. So neither one is resourcing from within. So obviously, to break out of the pattern, to break out of narcissistic family dynamics, that's a pattern that we have to break out of. Number 3 is having a clear sense of identity. Again, narcissists train you to not be you. And so you grow up trying to be whatever people expect of you. You're more of what people expect than who you really are. Well, to end narcissistic family dynamics, you have to find you. And guess what? I know that it can feel like the authentic self that you are is dead or non-existent, but I want to let you know that your authentic self is there. Okay, it's impossible to kill your authentic self. However, your authentic self can be buried under layers of trauma, repression, denial, coping skills. It's buried. And so healing and ending the dynamics of narcissistic abuse is about excavating, letting go of a lot of the stuff that is layered there that was put on you that shouldn't have been put on you, letting that go and learning how to connect with all of the pieces of yourself. Number 4 is self-love. Okay, learning to love yourself. Narcissistic family dynamics teach you to seek love and acceptance from the narcissist, especially if it was done in childhood. You needed the narcissist love more than your love, right? Because you were dependent on them for survival. So you've been chasing, or you've been trained, I should say, you've been trained to chase their love and approval so much that you don't realize the power or the empowerment that you can experience when you stop chasing the impossible and you actually start learning how to love yourself. Okay, but breaking those patterns is about learning to see your worth, your value, which is kind of tied in with upgrading your belief system and your self-image. Okay, and the last thing that I'm going to mention, not that this is an all-inclusive list, but these are 5 things that if you really want to be free of narcissistic family dynamics, this is the way you start doing it from within. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to mention for the sake of this video is learning how to enforce boundaries with difficult people. In a narcissistic family system, you're taught that boundaries are a lack of love. Well, that's not true. You're taught that boundaries are selfish. That's not true either. You're taught that if somebody's mad at your boundaries, that it's your fault and it's your responsibility to fix it. That's a lie as well. So healing is about, again, excavating those subconscious programs and learning how to see things not through the lens of the narcissist's eyes, but through your eyes. Those are 5 things that are helpful. I'm not going to lie and say it's a piece of cake, and I'm not going to lie and say that it happens overnight, but I will say this, it is worth the effort. Because if we don't learn these things, we can be free of toxic relationships and still be suffering. Suffering because of the patterns that were instilled because of the relationship, or suffering because of the painful beliefs that still accompany the relationship, even if the person's gone. So this is the deep inner work that when we do this, our life can change. Okay. If you're struggling, if you want to do these things and you feel like you've been trying for a long time and you've been struggling, make sure to watch for when the doors to the school open, because it is such an awesome experience to be on a healing journey with other people that get it, that understand. You start being able to witness the growth of others in the group, and you start to be able to see your growth as well. So again, make sure you check out the link for when the school is open.